Hello everybody, and welcome to a new periodic communication from the Central Coalition. Every episode of this series is going to take a look at some of the major philosophical and socio-economic subjects that affect every aspect of our day-to-day lives. And we are going to do this in such a way as to be as accessible as possible to viewers of every age. Because, let's be honest, no matter what age or interest level you have, this stuff will still affect you too. And if we are true to ourselves, knowing the basics about all these things will quite simply help you a great deal in this little adventure we call life. To try and ensure impartiality as much as we can, we will attempt to view each subject neutrally and from different angles. So let's jump right into it. What could possibly be the first topic for such an all-encompassing thread? How about reality itself? Let's jump right into the heart of things. Reality sounds like a big topic, but in the end it is purely an individual experience. Everyone has their own reality, their own perception. I'm not talking about physical things such as rocks, water or air. I'm talking about how we feel and what we think. The emotional and intellectual overlay of our daily existence, if you will. It can be ridiculously underappreciated how a person's emotions and thoughts completely change how they see the world. Because each of us has different emotional history and can be taught in completely different ways, individual items, and more importantly, actions or events, can mean totally different things to different people. It is important to notice that everyone perceives the reality very differently, and this even of people of the same culture and upbringing. Knowing this helps you understand others and why they may think differently from you. But why does this happen, and how? And do we have any control over this? A very good question. Luckily, no matter how different the intellectual and emotional reactions to the physical world are, they are all built on simple mechanics, and all do have, luckily, a single linchpin. This is vitally important to realize and also incredibly liberating. Everyone on the planet, from a stay-at-home parent in Russia, or a fisherman in Africa, or a lawyer in South America, or a sheep herder in Australia, all have a very similar mental structure at birth, a similar clean slate to start with, if you will, yet they have all developed into completely different people, with different ways of acting and experiencing life. Had any of these people been swapped with one of the others, they would have been a completely different person in the end. They would have had different goals, spoken and acted differently, and this only changing things in our lifetime. The flexibility of the human experience is truly amazing. Okay, back on track. Now, let's look at the mechanics first. How do we all develop this different perception? This different reality in terms of our intellectual and emotional interpretation? Well, it is due to our history, our upbringing, our memories and experiences. Simple? Of course not. Or is it? People love to complicate matters by trying to get specific answers from specific experiences and predict reactions and interactions. Now that is complicated, and not always effective if we are honest about the matter. How about instead of wading through the impossibly complex mechanisms and interpretations of memories and thoughts, we take a step back and appreciate the whole development as a whole. It is only at this level that we can see trends and overall developments and can take control. Because, quite simply, it is the whole thing that is you. It defines you, every little nuance and inclination. So at its root, what does the brain do? Put very basically, a major component stores and rates experiences, and uses them in context of external stimulation to get you through life. How does it rate, you may ask? Generally with emotions and feelings. This can best be seen in young children. Repetition, both in what we do and what we experience, shapes and forms our young impressionable minds, and we copy. New emotions can play as a multiplier in all this. For example, things that we enjoy or find useful will most likely get reinforced more, while the opposite, trauma, can sear images and reactions into our mind in one go. No need to repeat there. These events are burnt into our mind and will no doubt immediately trigger a response if it is experienced again. Though the older mind may be layered and connected in such a way as to make these different connections impenetrably complex, they are still built on a simple premise. repetition and emotional categorization. Well-worn mental paths are solid and hard to break, but the mind remains flexible right to the end. New connections can be made, while others can be reduced over time. It is literally only a matter of reinforcement. As they say, practice makes perfect, as well as, if you don't use it, you lose it. This is all based on the simplest mechanics of the mind. A lot of people like to think that hereditary or genetics plays a defining role, but as ideas are not genetically transferable. Only physical traits are. What would Einstein have been like if he was born in a different place, or a different time? Ideas are transferable. Children can end up much like their parents because they are their biggest influence, their most repeated example about how to react to the world. Family lines and dynasties is as much about the generational transfer of knowledge, attitude, and morals as it is about physical characteristics. This actually sounds like a trap, and in fact it is. You have been conditioned, and are actually being conditioned, continuously reconditioned, from the day you are born. You are a slave to your upbringing, your surroundings, your culture, your parents and friends. You feel compelled to act in a certain way, to think about things, to feel and react to external influences because that is what you have seen done by others your whole life. That is how the world works from the day you were born. Honor must be defended. Insults cannot be tolerated. Certain people are not to be trusted. Sex is taboo. All these things have witnessed to or been told and honestly believe, because you have seen it or believe the people who have told it to you. This is your world. This is your reality. You move in it, react to it, just like you have been taught. Even rebellion against these things takes on a predictable path of sorts. To be a breakout rebel requires its own type of common experience, shared by common mentalities which expresses itself in common ways. This is best seen by rebels often also having a deep need to conform to a rebellious ideal, so much so that often the rebellious lifestyle has actually more of a strict conformity than that which they are rebelling against. And it must be understood that your reactions to this reality are relative. What does this mean? It means that you tag your emotional range to the experiences you have available. Grief, joy, hate, and love, as well as being ideas with context. These levels of feelings are chemically relative to the experiences you have. You may not have witnessed your loved ones brutally killed right in front of you, but you have experienced what felt like crippling loss, ecstatic joy, or even mundane things. Teenagers are the best example of these massive swings being tied to seemingly trivial matters. But even when we are older, we categorize how we act under what circumstances. True naked shock comes when you are torn out of your reality into situations you have never contemplated. So, you, me, everyone, we're trapped, doomed to play out our preordained lives and pass it on to our equally enslaved children, to be caged by our reality and forced to see the world in a particular way. Or are we? Of course not. There is a way out. There is a truth and a true freedom. Freedom. Horrible, horrible freedom. This may sound strange, but most people are quite scared of true freedom. You see, freedom means true responsibility. There is no more blaming parents or teachers or ideological leaders. You take full, unashamed responsibility for what is right and wrong, for all of your actions. People may think, we do this anyway. But if you look around you at any time, you will notice most people live in a world of excuses. Every action that they take, and at some level are not happy with, are things they do which they know to be wrong deep down. They can blame on their influences, their experiences. Someone told them it was okay to do this, or others do this as well, or they are just following the crowd, or the person they are doing something to deserves it because they hurt them, hurt their pride in some way. Or only the strong survive, or the ends justify the means. All these things we use as excuses to act in a manner we know to be wrong, to justify something distasteful. Luckily, we all possess deep down a moral compass. This is expressed in every culture on this earth as a moral ideal. Normally like things like treat others like you want to be treated, don't kill, etc. Sort of leftovers from our need to form social structures that actually work, and where we are not constantly killing each other for petty gains. To be able to stand up and say, I know why I'm feeling inclined to do this, but I won't act as I feel compelled to because I know it to be wrong, or even, it is simply not in my best interest to react like I feel I should at this moment. That is true freedom. And to be free, you must firstly realize that you are weighed down by all your past experiences and memories. Every time you feel a certain way towards anything, this is your history talking. Not only your history, but your passed on memory of many generations, your family, your culture. This is not to say feelings and emotions are wrong. Far from it. They have gotten all of us where we are today. They are a connection to our subconscious, to our own collective memory, and damn useful. But they are a reference. They advise. They shouldn't dictate. You either rule your memories and your emotions, and indeed your whole mind, or they rule you. As simple as that. This ability to rise above your reactive memories and feelings is only briefly touched on in most cultures, and not always well explained. Some may know it as a conscious, or a higher conscious, or pure reasoning or thought. It doesn't live in the past, it doesn't dwell on the future, it is the now. It is being fully aware of your surroundings as well as yourself within these surroundings. There are no feelings, no emotions attached to it, as these are tied mostly to memories. It is cold, hard observance. Almost like watching yourself as an actor on a stage. And despite many of us only ever noticing it on the odd occasion, it is something that we all have access to. We can all use this at any time, though many would not even have considered this as necessary, having accepted the reactions as inevitable or tolerable, and they quite often can be, but not always. Now this is not to say that this is a simple thing. Even training yourself to interpret emotions, particularly strong ones, before simply allowing yourself to react is difficult in itself. Like anything with the mind, it takes practice, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, and soon enough you'll be able to catch yourself before snapping back a foul comment, or flying into a rage, or feeling depressed, sad, giddy, or reckless, to ask, is this what I want right now, or is it just me reacting? And maybe you will then decide that some strategic aggression is productive. Perhaps this is a good time to be free-spirited and reckless, but in the end it will be your choice, not your history and memory. And allowing yourself to analyze why you react as you do will give you the ultimate powerful tool in self-control. And over time, with continued control of how you react, you will realize you are actively influencing your reactions themselves. Your reinforcement will change your emotional responses to different situations, and indeed you will have greater control in defining how you want to develop as an individual, how you want to perceive your world. You will control your reality. Again, this won't happen overnight. Modern culture is always after a quick fix, a wonder drug that cures all, but there is no such thing. The mind works on repetition, and sometimes you have to counter things you have been doing and thinking your whole life. That will take effort, sometimes great effort, but the reward is beyond equals. We are out of time for this week, but rest assured that we will revisit this topic, and in particular the tools you need to help develop this ability to rise above, to gain awareness, to stay free. Mental training, as it is sometimes called, or meditation, prayer, etc. Tools to tune your mind. I hope this was of interest to you and helpful in some way. I know from personal experience that this is very challenging and quite often scary. I mean, who isn't a little scared of taking full responsibility of their actions and how they respond to others and the world? But it is something you will never regret you have. It not only helps you understand yourself, but is the key to truly understanding others. Something we would all use a bit of, because hey, we're all humans and are all learning. Well, let me know what you think, and also leave comments about the types of topics you might want to see in coming episodes. Until then, have a great time, stay safe, be aware, and take control.